Ethan had never imagined his life would change in a single morning. He was an ordinary human living on Earth, working as a junior technician in a small research lab. His days were predictable: wake up early, fix machines, and go home tired. But that morning, the sky was different. A strange glow bathed the city, and a quiet hum vibrated through the air. People looked up in awe, unsure whether it was a natural phenomenon or something else entirely. Before Ethan could even think, a small metallic pod landed gently in front of his apartment. Its surface shimmered like liquid silver. A panel opened and a smooth voice spoke. "Ethan, you have been chosen to represent Earth in the Galactic Challenge." Ethan blinked. "Okay, what?" "You are selected," the voice continued. "You will travel to Zorath Prime. Your mission: face the champion and win the honor of the alien princess." Ethan laughed nervously. It had to be a prank. Galactic Challenge? Alien princess? None of it made sense. He rubbed his eyes and looked around. The pod's surface reflected his worried face, and he realized that whatever this was, it was real. Within minutes, he was gently lifted into the pod. The doors sealed behind him, and the hum turned into a steady vibration. He felt weightless, then a sudden push, and everything blurred. Colors streaked past like comets. Ethan gripped the seat tightly, heart pounding. He thought about his life back on Earth. His small apartment, his friends, the quiet evenings reading books. Everything felt so far away. When the pod finally stopped, he found himself on a vast platform. The sky above was not blue. It was a deep violet with streaks of gold. 2 suns hung in the distance, casting long shadows on the landscape. He stepped out, feeling the soft, warm ground beneath his feet. The air smelled different, sweet and fresh, almost like flowers he had never seen. Then he saw it, the arena. It stretched as far as the eye could see. Towers of strange metals glinted in the sunlight. Bridges and platforms rose above enormous crowds, and creatures of all shapes and sizes filled the seats. Some had wings, some had scales, others shimmered like light itself. The sounds were a mixture of cheers, roars, and alien music. Ethan felt small and alone. At the center of the arena stood a platform, and on it, tall and graceful, was the alien princess. Her eyes were sharp, shining like polished crystals. Her hair floated around her shoulders as if moved by an invisible wind. She raised a hand and the crowd quieted instantly. Even Ethan felt the silence pressing down on him, heavy and awe-inspiring. "Win this battle, human," she said, her voice clear and commanding. "And you win me." Ethan's heart stopped. He had expected many things, but not this. Win her? Trust her? He barely understood what it meant. But he sensed that this challenge was about more than just a fight. It was about respect, courage, and proving himself in a universe far bigger than he had ever imagined. Before he could gather his thoughts, an assistant handed him a simple suit. It was lightweight, made of material that shimmered slightly, and it felt perfectly fitted to his body. "You will need this," the assistant said. "It will help you survive the arena's environment. Adapt quickly. The challenge is unlike anything you've faced." Ethan nodded, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. He looked around and saw other competitors warming up. Most were much larger than him. Some had multiple arms. Some had legs that could stretch like springs. And one creature had translucent skin that showed its glowing organs inside. Ethan swallowed hard. He was just a human, the only one without advanced biology or enhanced abilities. But then he remembered something his grandfather had told him long ago. It's not the size of the opponent that matters. Ethan, it's the size of the courage in your heart. He straightened, took a deep breath, and told himself he would do his best. The first lessons began immediately. Trainers, humans and aliens alike, taught him about the arena's traps, hazards, and challenges. The floor could shift without warning, platforms could vanish, and hidden dangers lurked in every corner. But the trainers also taught him to observe, plan, and think creatively. He noticed things others ignored. The patterns of moving platforms, the slight tremors of the ground, even the way the alien princess moved during demonstrations. Days passed quickly. Ethan's body grew stronger. His reflexes sharpened. More importantly, his mind became agile. He learned to anticipate obstacles, to combine human ingenuity with the alien strategies he observed. He realized that while he could not match the aliens in strength, he could match them in intelligence and courage. One evening, As he rested under the twin suns, Ethan thought about Lyra, the alien princess. She was unlike anyone he had ever met. She was proud, powerful, and seemed untouchable. But there was a spark in her eyes, curiosity, challenge, even something that hinted at respect for those who dared face her. Ethan felt both intimidated and strangely connected to her. He didn't understand why yet, but he knew this challenge would change him forever. Finally, the day of the first demonstration arrived. Competitors lined up. Ethan's heart raced. He could hear the crowd, feel their energy, even the ones who doubted him. As he stepped forward, he felt a calm settle over him. He remembered the lessons, his training, and the courage that had carried him this far. Lyra watched silently, her eyes following every movement. Ethan could feel the weight of her gaze, but instead of fear, he felt determination. He knew this was his chance to show that humans, though small and fragile, could hold their own in a universe of giants. The arena gates opened, and Ethan stepped onto the shifting platforms. The crowd erupted, creatures cheering, trumpets sounding, and energy thrumming through the air. He focused, moving carefully, learning the rhythm of the obstacles. Every step was a test, every breath measured. And through it all, he felt alive in a way he had never known. As the sun set behind the alien city, casting long golden shadows across the arena, Ethan realized something important. He was no longer just a human technician from Earth. He was a competitor, a challenger, and perhaps in some way, someone worthy of the alien princess's respect. The first part of his journey had begun, and Ethan knew that the true battle was not just against others, but against fear, doubt, and the limits he had always thought defined him. The morning of Ethan's first official challenge arrived with a mix of tension and excitement. The arena looked different in the early light. Platforms reflected the soft glow of the twin suns, and strange mist drifted across the field. Ethan stood at the edge, his heart beating fast. His training had prepared him, but nothing could fully prepare him for the reality of the arena. Across from him, competitors moved with confidence. Many of them were larger, stronger, and faster than him. Their eyes gleamed with determination, and some even looked at him with mild amusement. Ethan, however, held his ground. He reminded himself that strength was not everything. Human beings were known for creativity, quick thinking, and resilience. Today, he would rely on those traits. A loud horn echoed across the arena, signaling the start of the first challenge. The crowd roared in response, a mixture of alien cheers and strange musical tones. Ethan stepped forward cautiously. The floor beneath him shifted slightly, sending a small jolt through his legs. He took a deep breath, adjusting to the movement. The arena was alive, unpredictable, and he had to remain alert at all times. The first task was simple in appearance: cross a series of floating platforms to reach a pedestal at the center. But appearances were deceiving. The platforms moved, rotated, and sometimes disappeared without warning. Ethan observed the patterns carefully, taking note of which platforms moved faster and which ones remained stable. His fingers brushed against the surface of a platform, feeling the slight vibrations, sensing its rhythm. Ethan's training paid off. He moved deliberately, one careful step at a time. When a platform tilted suddenly, he adjusted his balance, using his weight to counteract the shift. Another competitor, a tall alien with 4 legs, leapt boldly but misjudged the distance and nearly fell. Ethan kept his focus, moving steadily, ignoring the whispers of doubt that tried to creep into his mind. From her platform above, Lyra watched silently. She had expected humans to falter quickly, to panic under pressure, but Ethan's calm, measured approach caught her attention. There was something in his eyes, a combination of fear, determination, and focus that made her pause. Most competitors relied on raw power. Ethan relied on his mind, and that made him different. Halfway through the task, a sudden challenge appeared. A barrier of energy rose between the platforms, forcing competitors to think fast. Many froze, unsure of how to proceed. Ethan scanned the area quickly. He noticed a slight shimmer on the side of the barrier. He leapt and pressed a small panel hidden in the wall. The energy barrier flickered, giving him a path forward. Others had missed it, struggling while Ethan continued. As he reached the final platform, the crowd erupted in cheers. Some of the smaller alien creatures waved flags while others created glowing trails in the air, celebrating his clever solution. Ethan allowed himself a small smile, but he didn't relax. This was only the first part of the challenge. The real test had yet to come. The second task was more intense. The arena transformed before their eyes. Walls rose, tunnels appeared, and the terrain shifted to a rugged landscape filled with obstacles. Ethan's heart raced. He had trained for agility and strategy, but the scale of this challenge was unlike anything he had imagined. Competitors ran, leapt, and dodged with precision. Ethan noticed something important. Many relied on brute strength. He relied on observation. He studied the movements of others, the timing of the obstacles, and the ways in which the terrain changed. Using this knowledge, he found paths that others overlooked, shortcuts that saved him valuable time. At one point, a bridge collapsed under the weight of a larger competitor. Ethan had approached it cautiously and had already moved across safely. He realized then that caution and planning were as powerful as speed and strength. Humans may have been small, but their minds could solve problems in ways that raw power could not. The final stage of the challenge involved facing a robotic guardian. It was designed to test reaction time and combat skill. The guardian moved quickly, its limbs striking with precision. Ethan's heart pounded as he dodged, ducked, and observed its patterns. He noticed a small weak point near its shoulder. Timing his move perfectly, he delivered a precise strike that disabled the guardian. The crowd went silent for a brief moment, then exploded into cheers again. Even some of the alien spectators clapped in admiration. Lyra's expression softened slightly. She had expected a human to struggle, maybe even fail immediately. But Ethan had not only survived, he had excelled. His performance had been clever, brave, and precise. She could see that he possessed qualities rare in her world, qualities that mattered in a champion. After the challenge ended, Ethan returned to the resting area. He was exhausted, every muscle in his body aching, yet he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. Other competitors approached him, some with respect, others with quiet suspicion. He had proven that humans were not to be underestimated. Ethan sat down, breathing heavily, and thought about how far he had come in just a few days. He had arrived on Zorath Prime as an ordinary human, uncertain and fearful. Now he was a competitor who had captured the attention of one of the galaxy's most respected figures. The thought was overwhelming, but also inspiring. The alien trainers approached him, offering praise. "Your strategy was impressive," one said. "You think differently than most. That is your strength." Ethan nodded, a small smile on his face. "I just try to see what others miss," he said simply. That evening, as the sun set and the arena grew quiet, Ethan looked up at Lyra's platform. She was there, watching him, her eyes thoughtful. For the first time, she spoke to him directly, her voice carrying clearly across the arena. "You are different, human," she said. "I see courage in you, but also intelligence. This challenge will test more than strength. Prepare yourself. You are capable of surprising even me." Ethan felt a shiver of excitement. The words were a promise and a challenge. He didn't know exactly what lay ahead, but he knew one thing. He would give everything he had. For himself, for Earth, and perhaps, in some way, for the alien princess who had already begun to notice him. As he rested that night, Ethan reflected on the lessons of the day. Strength alone was not enough. Fear was natural but could be managed. Observation, creativity, and courage were just as important as power. And most importantly, no matter how alien the world or how impossible the challenge seemed, he had learned that humans could adapt, survive, and even excel. Tomorrow, he would face new tests tougher than anything he had seen. But tonight, he allowed himself a moment of pride. He had crossed the first stage, captured attention, and shown that even a human could shine in a galaxy full of wonders and dangers. The journey had only just begun, and Ethan felt ready. The next morning, Ethan woke with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Today was not just another round. It was the stage where he would face competitors who were faster, stronger, and more experienced than anyone he had met so far. His body ached from the previous day's challenges, but his mind was sharp. He had learned that survival in the arena depended not only on strength, but on focus, observation, and creativity. As he entered the central preparation area, other competitors were already stretching and testing their abilities. Some of them glanced at Ethan, curiosity in their alien eyes. Few had expected the human to make it this far, but now that he was here, he could feel their respect mingled with caution. Being underestimated had worked in his favor before. Now, he would rely on the skills he had honed to continue proving himself. The trainers gave a brief explanation of the day's challenge. This stage will test agility, intelligence, and endurance, one said. You will need to navigate a labyrinth filled with shifting walls, moving platforms, and hidden traps. Only those who observe carefully and adapt quickly will succeed. Ethan nodded. He had trained for mental and physical endurance, but he knew that real experience would be very different. He took a deep breath and focused. His plan was simple. Move carefully, watch for patterns, and trust his instincts. The arena gates opened, and the competitors moved forward. Ethan quickly realized the labyrinth was more complex than he had imagined. Walls rose and fell unpredictably. Some platforms disappeared into thin air, and glowing panels appeared that seemed to change the paths around them. The labyrinth felt almost alive, challenging every move he made. Ethan's first instinct was caution. He observed the movements of the walls, timing his steps carefully. When a wall shifted suddenly, he adjusted his path smoothly, barely losing balance. Another competitor, a tall alien with multiple arms, charged recklessly through a corridor. One of the moving walls knocked him off balance, and he tumbled into a safe landing zone, frustrated but unharmed. Ethan silently noted that rushing could be dangerous. Patience and observation were key. The labyrinth had sections that tested different skills. In one area, competitors had to cross platforms suspended over a glowing pit. The platforms were narrow and tilted easily. Ethan held his balance, noticing that the platforms moved in a predictable rhythm. He waited for the exact moment to jump and landed safely. Others who jumped too early or too late struggled, some having to retrace their steps entirely. In another section, hidden panels released bursts of harmless but disorienting mist. Most competitors slowed down, coughing and blinking. Ethan had anticipated this. He covered his nose, moved quickly but carefully, and reached the next checkpoint before many others. Each successful step gave him confidence. He realized he was not just surviving, he was learning and adapting faster than most. Lyra observed quietly from her high platform. Her eyes followed every move Ethan made. She had expected him to falter by now, but he moved with determination, intelligence, and a calmness that few of her experienced warriors possessed. She had watched many champions rise and fall in her lifetime, but there was something different about this human. His success was not from natural strength or enhanced abilities. It was from strategy, courage, and perseverance. The final section of the labyrinth presented a unique challenge. A guardian robot with multiple arms, programmed to block the paths and slow competitors down. Many warriors relied on brute force to disable it, but Ethan remembered what he had learned before. Strength alone was not enough. He observed the robot carefully, noting the timing of its arm movements and the slight pauses between attacks. When the robot swung an arm toward him, Ethan rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the strike. He noticed a small opening in its structure near the base. Using his human ingenuity, he activated a loose control panel he had spotted earlier. Sparks flew and the robot froze briefly, giving him a clear path through the final corridor. Competitors who had attempted to fight it directly struggled, while Ethan moved forward with precision. At the end of the labyrinth, Ethan found a small platform with a glowing orb. Touching it marked the completion of the challenge. He had not only survived, but he had finished ahead of several stronger competitors. Exhausted but proud, he looked around and saw the crowd cheering. The alien spectators were amazed that a human had made it this far with careful thought and clever moves. Lyra's eyes met his. For the first time, she allowed herself a small smile. She had seen many champions in her life, yet Ethan's performance was unique. She admired his persistence, his focus, and the way he used his mind to overcome challenges. It was not victory yet, but she had begun to respect him as a worthy competitor. After the challenge, Ethan returned to the resting area. Trainers congratulated him, praising his strategic thinking and resilience. "You are learning quickly," one said. "Your mind is your strongest weapon." Ethan smiled, realizing how far he had come. A few days ago, he was uncertain and afraid. Now he had grown into someone capable of facing immense challenges with courage. That evening, Ethan reflected on his experiences. He realized that the arena was not just about competition, it was about growth. Every obstacle tested more than his physical abilities. It tested patience, intelligence, and emotional strength. Each challenge pushed him to see beyond fear and rely on creativity and careful thinking. He also thought about Lyra. She was more than a princess or a champion. She represented a world so different from his own, yet he felt a strange connection. He didn't understand it fully, but he knew he wanted her respect not for reward, but because he valued what she represented: courage, honor, and the strength to rise above challenges. As night fell on Zorath Prime, Ethan looked out over the arena. The glowing lights of the city shimmered like stars, and the twin moons cast a gentle glow across the landscape. He felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. His journey was far from over. Tougher challenges awaited, and the ultimate duel with the alien princess loomed on the horizon. But tonight he allowed himself a moment of pride. He had survived, adapted, and proven that even a human could shine in a universe filled with powerful beings. Ethan closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Tomorrow would be harder and the challenges would be greater. But he was ready. With courage, intelligence, and determination, he believed he could face whatever came next. And somewhere high above the arena, Lyra watched silently, her interest in the human growing. She could sense that this young man was more than he appeared. He was not just a participant, he was a contender. And she was eager to see how far he could go. The third part of Ethan's journey had shown him that fear could be managed, that cleverness often triumphed over brute strength, and that the human spirit could rise even in the most alien and challenging environments. The adventure was only beginning, and Ethan felt ready for everything that lay ahead. The day of the final rounds arrived, and the arena buzzed with energy. The crowds were larger than ever, creatures from different planets filling every platform and corridor. Ethan felt the weight of expectation on his shoulders. He had survived the previous challenges through courage, intelligence, and careful observation, but now he was facing something far greater, the ultimate test against the alien princess, Lyra. Ethan's heart raced as he entered the arena. The ground beneath him vibrated with anticipation, and the shifting platforms reflected the bright light of the twin suns. He glanced at the other competitors who had also reached the final rounds. Most were aliens with impressive abilities, but they had also been bested by the challenges, leaving only a few contenders alongside him. Each competitor moved with confidence, but there was an unspoken tension. Everyone knew this stage would separate the true champions from the rest. Lyra stood on her platform, elegant and imposing. Her eyes locked on Ethan as soon as he stepped forward. The silence in the arena was complete. Even the murmurs of the crowd faded. When she spoke, her voice carried like a melody through the air. "Today, human, you face your greatest challenge," she said. "You will test your strength, your mind, and your spirit. Only one will emerge with the honor of my respect. Remember, courage and intelligence are as powerful as skill." Ethan nodded, swallowing his fear. He had trained, adapted, and grown in these past days. He knew this moment would decide more than just victory. It would determine if he could prove that humans were capable of greatness, even among alien champions. The first part of the challenge involved a series of moving obstacles. Platforms rotated, walls shifted, and energy barriers appeared without warning. Ethan moved carefully, observing patterns and timing his steps. Unlike the other competitors who rushed with force, he relied on patience and calculation. Each leap, each adjustment, each landing was precise. He noticed how the smaller, subtle movements of the platforms created opportunities that others missed, allowing him to advance steadily. Halfway through, he faced a mechanical guardian, larger and faster than any he had seen before. Its metallic limbs swung with power, and its sensors scanned the arena constantly. Many competitors hesitated, unsure of how to approach it. Ethan crouched, observing its movements, and saw a slight delay each time it struck. Using his speed and careful timing, he moved past it, narrowly avoiding the strikes and finding a hidden path around the guardian. Lyra's eyes followed every step. She had trained with warriors far stronger than humans, but Ethan's approach was unusual. He relied not on raw power, but on analysis and adaptability. She could sense his courage and determination, qualities she valued deeply. Even as he navigated the obstacles, Ethan's confidence grew. He realized that fear could be managed, and that thinking clearly in dangerous situations was often more valuable than strength alone. The second part of the challenge tested endurance and quick thinking. Competitors entered a vast arena filled with environmental hazards. Fires erupted suddenly, walls collapsed without warning, and narrow bridges appeared over deep chasms. Ethan focused on observation. He noted patterns, timed his movements, and adjusted constantly. Other competitors, relying on instinct and speed, often stumbled or retreated. Ethan advanced steadily, combining agility with careful thinking. As he reached the central area, the arena shifted again. Platforms rose into the air, forming a maze-like structure. The final task was clear: reach the central platform where Lyra waited. Ethan's muscles ached, his mind was tired, but his determination was stronger than ever. He reminded himself of the lessons he had learned: patience, observation, creativity, and courage. Suddenly, Lyra descended from her platform. She moved with incredible speed and skill, showing the true extent of her training. The crowd gasped as the human and the alien princess faced each other. Ethan's heart pounded, but he stood firm. This was the moment he had been preparing for, the duel that would determine everything. Lyra struck first, testing his reflexes. Ethan dodged, using the techniques he had learned and adapted during previous challenges. Every move was a test of reaction, strategy, and endurance. Lyra moved with elegance and precision, yet Ethan found opportunities in the smallest gaps, exploiting moments she did not expect him to act. The duel continued, intense and fast-paced. Ethan used his mind as much as his body, anticipating patterns and thinking several moves ahead. He observed Lyra carefully, learning her rhythm, timing, and tendencies. Each strike he avoided, each platform he navigated, increased his confidence. The crowd watched in silence, astonished by the human who dared to face the alien princess and hold his ground. At one point, Lyra paused briefly, impressed by Ethan's skill. He had not only survived her attacks but had used clever thinking to create openings for himself. She realized that this human possessed qualities rare even among the best warriors in the galaxy: resilience, intelligence, and courage under pressure. Ethan felt his heart racing, sweat dripping from his brow, but he did not give in to fear. He moved carefully, dodging and striking at precise moments, using the environment to his advantage. A collapsing bridge became a way to trap a mechanical hazard. A rotating platform provided leverage for a quick move, and gaps in the energy barriers allowed him to advance while others struggled. Finally, he reached the central platform. Lyra stood there, calm and composed. She extended a hand toward him. Ethan's chest swelled with a mix of relief, pride, and respect. He had made it through the final rounds, navigated impossible obstacles, and faced the ultimate duel with determination and skill. The crowd erupted in applause. Creatures from across the galaxy cheered, amazed by the human who had achieved what few thought possible. Ethan looked into Lyra's eyes and saw something he had not expected: admiration. She had watched him closely, noting every clever move and brave decision. She recognized his courage, intelligence, and perseverance. "You have done well, human," Lyra said. "Your mind and spirit have proven themselves. Today, you have earned my respect. Not many can face me and rise to the challenge. You have." Ethan's body trembled with relief and pride. He had not only survived, but he had succeeded. He had proven that humans could rise above limitations, face fear, and excel in a world full of powerful beings. The lessons of courage, observation, and resilience had carried him through every obstacle. As the sun set over Zorath Prime, Ethan and Lyra stood together on the central platform. The crowd continued to cheer, but in that moment, he felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced impossible challenges, confronted fear, and emerged victorious. And in the process, he had earned the admiration of one of the galaxy's most powerful figures. Ethan realized that the journey was not just about winning a duel, it was about growth, courage, and discovering the strength within himself. The final challenge had tested everything he had learned, and he had risen to meet it. He looked at Lyra and felt a sense of respect and connection, knowing that the lessons and experiences of this day would stay with him forever. The fourth part of his journey had shown Ethan that no matter how strong or skilled others might seem, courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome nearly any obstacle. The ultimate test had not been just physical, it had been a challenge of the mind and spirit. Tomorrow, the final moments awaited. Ethan knew that the last part of this journey would define the true bond between human and alien champion, and he was ready. The day of the final duel had arrived. The arena was filled with anticipation unlike anything Ethan had ever felt. Crowds from countless planets gathered, their excitement vibrating through the ground. The twin suns cast golden light across the platforms, creating long shadows that shifted with the rising structures of the arena. Every eye turned toward the central stage, where Ethan would face Lyra, the alien princess, in the ultimate test of courage, intelligence, and skill. Ethan stood at the entrance to the arena, his heart pounding. He was tired from the previous challenges, his body aching, but his mind was clear. He had survived countless obstacles, faced impossible odds, and grown stronger with each step. Now only one challenge remained. He glanced at Lyra, who stood tall on her platform, her eyes calm but intense. She had watched him from the beginning, observing his every move, and now the moment had come to see how he would perform in the final duel. "You are ready, human," Lyra said, her voice carrying effortlessly across the arena. "This duel is more than strength. It is strategy, courage, and the will to never give up. Show me what you are made of." Ethan nodded. "I will do my best," he replied, feeling a mix of fear and determination. The gates opened and the duel began. Lyra moved with incredible speed and precision, her strikes calculated and deliberate. Ethan dodged, rolled, and countered, relying on the lessons he had learned throughout the previous challenges. Every movement had meaning. Every decision mattered. The duel was not just about physical power, it was a test of mind, spirit, and heart. The arena shifted around them, adding complexity to the duel. Platforms rose and fell, walls shifted, and energy barriers appeared at random. Ethan used the environment to his advantage, timing his moves carefully. He anticipated Lyra's attacks, finding gaps where he could maneuver safely. He discovered small openings in the barriers, using them to gain better positioning and outsmart his opponent. Lyra was impressed. Most competitors relied on raw power, but Ethan relied on observation, strategy, and ingenuity. His movements were precise yet fluid. He was not just surviving, he was learning, adapting, and challenging her in ways she had not expected. Hours seemed to pass in moments. Each strike, each dodge, and each leap tested their endurance and focus. Ethan felt exhaustion creeping into his muscles, but he pushed through. He remembered the words of the trainers, the lessons he had learned in the labyrinths, and the moments when he had relied on creativity to survive. Now all of that experience came together. At a critical moment, Lyra struck with a fast, spinning attack. Ethan rolled just in time, using the momentum to launch himself toward a higher platform. From this vantage point, he saw an opportunity. A series of energy panels could be activated to temporarily immobilize her movements. He calculated the timing carefully, leapt, and activated the panels. Lyra stumbled slightly, giving him an opening he could not afford to waste. With courage and precision, Ethan advanced, navigating the final obstacles and closing the distance between him and Lyra. The crowd held its breath as the human and the princess faced each other on the central platform. The duel was no longer just a fight. It was a display of skill, strategy, and mutual respect. Lyra stopped, her gaze meeting Ethan's. For the first time, she smiled, not in mockery, but in admiration. "You have done well, human," she said. "You have shown intelligence, courage, and perseverance. You have proven that humans can rise to challenges even in worlds far beyond their own." Ethan felt a rush of pride and relief. The fear he had felt at the beginning of his journey melted away, replaced by a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced the impossible and succeeded not just because of his strength but because of his mind, heart, and spirit. The crowd erupted in cheers, some clapping, others shouting in joy. Creatures of all shapes and sizes celebrated the human who had earned the respect of the alien princess. Ethan stood tall, feeling the weight of the moment. He had crossed worlds, faced deadly obstacles, and conquered fear. He was no longer just a technician from Earth. He was a champion, a survivor, and a figure of inspiration. Lyra extended her hand. "You have earned my respect and my trust," she said. "Winning the battle was not just about defeating me. It was about showing courage, intelligence, and honor. You have done all that and more. Ethan took her hand, feeling a strange warmth and connection. It was not a reward for power, but a recognition of his effort, determination, and spirit. He realized then that this journey had changed him forever. He had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident. He had faced fear, adapted, and succeeded in a world far beyond what he had ever imagined. As the sun set and the arena glowed with the soft light of evening, Ethan looked around. The alien city shimmered with colors he had never seen, and the energy of the crowd pulsed like a living force. He thought about how far he had come, from a human technician on Earth to a champion who had earned the respect of a galactic princess. Lyra spoke again, her voice calm and clear. "This is only the beginning, human. You have proven yourself today, but there are many more challenges ahead. I look forward to seeing what you can accomplish in the future." Ethan nodded. "I will continue to do my best," he replied. He felt a sense of determination stronger than ever. He knew that the lessons of courage, intelligence, and perseverance would guide him through whatever challenges came next. That night, as he rested in the special quarters provided to the finalists, Ethan reflected on his journey. He remembered the fear he had felt when he first arrived, the obstacles that had seemed impossible, and the moments when he had doubted himself. And he remembered how he had faced each challenge with courage, learned from each experience, and grown stronger with every step. He thought about Lyra, the alien princess who had tested him and ultimately recognized his effort and spirit. He understood now that the duel had been more than a physical challenge. It had been a test of character, and he had passed. Ethan looked out at the night sky of Zorath Prime, the twin moons casting silver light across the landscape. He felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. He had not only survived the challenges, but had earned respect, friendship, and a bond that crossed worlds. He knew that the experiences he had gained would stay with him forever, shaping him into a stronger, wiser, and braver person. The journey had been difficult, full of trials, fear, and uncertainty. But it had also been rewarding, showing him the power of courage, intelligence, and determination. Ethan realized that true victory was not just about winning a duel. It was about growing, learning, and proving to oneself that anything is possible with effort and heart. As he closed his eyes that night, Ethan felt ready for whatever lay ahead. The duel was over, the battle won, and a new chapter of his life had begun. He had faced the impossible and emerged victorious, earning the respect of the alien princess and the admiration of beings from across the galaxy. And somewhere high above, Lyra watched, a small smile on her face. She knew that this human, so different from any she had met, had proven something remarkable. Not just strength or skill, but courage, intelligence, and a spirit that could inspire others. Ethan had won more than a duel. He had earned a place of honor in a world far beyond his own.